Hi guys, this is Satakshi, and when I was recording the main video, I kind of forgot that there might be some people who have not actually read the book previously, and they might be just coming to get some summary of the book to understand whether they want to read this book in the first place or not. So when I was giving the summary, I kind of jumped right into the story before giving the context. So here I'm giving the context here. So give me 1 second. So here we have our book, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This book is written by Holly Jackson. So this entire story is set up in Little Kilton. The town's name is Little Kilton, and our protagonist is Pip Fitzamozy. Oh my god, I cannot just for the love of my life pronounce this right, but it's Pip Fitzamoby. Yes, now I've pronounced it correctly. It's Pip Fitzamoby. Oh, thank God. Right, so Pip, usually called as Pippa, is our protagonist, and she is solving the case of Sal Singh and Andy Bell. So basically, Andy Bell is one of the town folks in the little village. Her boyfriend Sal Singh, he was actually alleged as the murderer of Andy Bell without being convicted, just based on circumstantial evidence, right? So yeah, that is the premise. Pip, we have Pip, our protagonist. We have Andy Bell, who got killed. We have Sal Singh, who is alleged murderer of Andy Bell, and also he apparently confessed in a text message that he had, it looked like that he had killed Andy, and then he was found dead in the woods too. Okay, so we have both Andy and Sal dead. I might repeat a couple things again when I start the actual video, which I had recorded previously. So bear with me. Okay. Hi guys, this is Satakshi, and today we have a cult favorite here. This is book 1 of our trilogy, and this book follows our protagonist and detective Pip Fitzamozy. I know I was a little taken aback by the name itself, but don't worry, it grows on you. So this book, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, it starts off with a scene outside Sal's house. Sal was the boyfriend of Andy Bell. Andy Bell, who got killed 5 years ago, allegedly by Sal, who then confessed to killing her, and in the guilt of it, performed suicide. Right, so in these 5 years, it has been 5 years, okay. So in these 5 years, the society has casted the Singh family outside and treats them as a harbinger of misfortune, much like a haunted house, right? So this is where the scene starts off. We have Pip set her mind that okay, for her extra project in school, she is going to solve Andy Bell's case. Why does she want to solve the case? Because she knew Sal when she was younger, and she knew he was a very kind-hearted person who couldn't commit such a crime, right? So we are back to the scene where she is going to knock on Singh's family's door, and we have our first interaction with Ravi Singh. Ravi is Sal's younger brother, who is grief-stricken, introvert, and a little bullied by the people around him, by the townspeople, right? And he's a little dubious of Pip's conviction, but still gives in, because this is the first time somebody has actually shown interest and conviction that okay, Sal's is actually innocent. Pip schedules an interview with him, meanwhile interviewing other different people involved in the case, starting from Missing Persons Bureau, who first got reported of Andy's missing, and then Kilton newspaper, who covered the entire case and actually framed Sal of an alleged murder, right? Then she started scouring the newspapers and articles to gather all the information on Andy's disappearance. Basically, she was reading up a lot on investigation and media. Upon her investigation and going through all the newspapers and all the media recordings, she found that they all praised Andy and convicted Sal without even trial. She finally interviews Ravi, Sal's brother, and learns that Sal kept trying to call Andy before her disappearance, and they were fighting in the days preceding that. Sal helped police in finding Andy too, and he was quite stressed and worried in those days. And suddenly, Ravi got the news of Sal's death. So that was the entire timeline from Ravi's perspective of how Sal went in those days. It came as a big surprise because Sal was never suicidal. In fact, he was a very smart and futuristic person. Pip always considers Sal as her hero, as he helped like numerous times in her childhood. So she knew that there was something wrong. She interviews Naomi too. Who is Naomi? So Pip's best friend Kara. Kara's older sister is Naomi, and Naomi and Sal were also best friends, right? So she, after interviewing Naomi, she understands that Sal and her friends were at a party on the night that Andy was murdered, and she tells Pip that Sal left the party around 10:30 p.m. citing some work, and she also tells Pip that Andy wasn't such an angel like everybody was thinking her to be, like fighting over stupidest things and being a nightmare with Sal. That was what Naomi projected Andy to be. And Naomi also tells Pip that Sal apparently asked their friends to lie about him being at the party till 12 a.m. to have an alibi, but then they decided to tell the truth. We'll later see why this happened and what caused them to lie. Now, after interviewing so many people, Pip pretty much has the timeline. Like Andy went missing between 10:40 p.m. to 12:45 p.m. on 20th April. Then police got involved, inquiries started happening, Sal's friends saying that Sal was with them at the party that night, search party on 23rd. His friends staging statements saying Sal left actually at 10:30 and asked them to lie. Then Sal's suicide on 24th. This all happened within 4 days. Then police taking a week and declaring Andy dead. And then Sal eventually becomes a murderer based on circumstantial evidence. So from this point onwards, Pip starts discovering that Andy's secrets and how she wasn't at all a nice girl this town had painted her to be, like an angel that Andy was painted to be. So after she also conducts an interview with Max Hastings, the one who hosted the party, and he was also one of the friends of Sal. So Pip gets some confusing direction, because when she interviewed Max, she to know that Naomi went MIA during that same time frame as well. Max was actually pointing Pip in Naomi's direction. Then Pip starts to make a suspect list and add Naomi and Max Hastings both on there. Okay. One thing to note here is that both of them said that Sal was actually a very sweet and kind person, and they don't believe that he did it, but the evidence suggests that he did. Right. Then she interviews Elliot, Kara's dad, Kara her best friend. Okay. She got to know from the interview that Sal actually had an offer from Oxford, meaning that he had plans for future and was intelligent enough to have an alibi in case he actually did the murder. Pip and Ravi starts to hang out a little more, they form a team, and now that Ravi wasn't alone in proving his brother's innocence, he actually gave Pip Sal's phone, which was a crucial turning point in their investigation. They went through all Sal's texts and noticed that the message in which he confesses about killing Andy before his death was actually written very differently from he normally texts. They came up with multiple theories of Andy's death, like which was she killed, was a third person involved, is she actually alive, because they never really found her body. Pip then talks to a couple of Andy's best friends. Two friends were out of town, so she connects them via call and learns that their father was verbally abusive in his behavior. Andy's and Becca's father. Becca is Andy's sister, right? And their home environment was very, very toxic. She also gets to know that Andy was dating some older guy. Basically, she was double dating and cheating on Sal with some older guy. So around this time, she gets an anonymous warning telling her to stop digging, which points her in a direction that the killer is still alive somewhere. Pip tried to ignore it, but the nerves gave away, and she set up a download history in Kara's house printer, suspecting that Naomi was actually behind this, because she is there in her suspects list. Just to strike her off the list, enables the function to retain the history of the download of the printers, right? One thing to note here as well is that Pip is super close to Nara and by extension Naomi. They are like sisters to her, and Naomi had lost her mother 2 years before Andy's death. So basically 7 years from the present timeline. And she still struggled with the loss, so she feels bad for suspecting her. Pip feels bad for suspecting Naomi, right? Upon digging further, Pip starts talking to Andy's friends, trying to find animosity between Naomi and Andy, but instead finds that Andy held grudges for Elliot, Naomi and Kara's dad. So Pip went to talk to him, and turns out that Elliot had actually caught Andy bullying people and gave her a warning on the back of school's no tolerance policy. Nat, the girl Andy bullies and posts a profane video of, basically nude video of, she's still traumatized and angry with Andy and blames her for ruining her life. So basically Nat has gone rogue and she has started fighting bullies, and she's basically ruined her life, and she hinges it all on Andy's bullying. Nat and her younger brother Daniel, so Nat Da Silva and Dan Da Silva are two suspects that gets added to Pip's list of suspects. Hey, she later talks to Max Hastings again, the host of the party that we were earlier talking about, discovering that Max had bought drugs from Andy at the house parties, also called calamity parties, and he had a nude photo of Andy in his home, putting him further up the suspect list along with other name Howie Bowers, the dealer of the drugs Andy was working for. Right. She goes to tail Howie Bowers, who was a new person in the list of suspects, a new person in the entire story, and finds Stanley Firms, the one from the Kilton newspaper she was interviewing at the start of the book. She and Stanley Forbes is also dating Becca. Becca is Andy's sister. So Stanley Forbes hands Howie an envelope to keep him shut about something. We don't really know what he was talking about because it was not related to the story, but she catches Howie Bowers red-handed giving drugs to a kid and threatens him to get the info on Andy's dealings. Learning that Andy dealt with roofies at the party, especially. Roofie is a date drug. He was dealing it with Max Hastings, the host of the party. Meanwhile, Pip gets another threatening text to abandon this investigation. So later, Pip and Ravi break into Andy's old room and find her diary. They chase multiple leads and learn that several girls were getting spiked at the calamity parties and potentially being assaulted by Max Hastings. She secretly spies on Max's private account, and a shocking revelation was made. All three of Sal's friends from the party of the night of Andy's murder, they all posted their photos 3 days from the disappearance of Andy on the same day at the same time. So basically they all posted the photos at the same time 3 days after the incident, which was shocking because in one of the photos all three of the friends were in the photo. Sorry, there were 4 friends, right? Sorry, there were 4 friends. So all 4 of the friends were in the photo, meaning that there is only one person who could actually click the photo, Sal Singh. And when she further enlarged the picture, the timing of the photo was around 12 a.m. Meaning not only Sal took the picture, but he was there at 12 a.m. with them. To further solidify this, she finds a faint reflection of his shirt too. And it turns that all their friends lied about him being gone and taking his alibi away. And now this gets Pip asking questions like, what actually made them lie about it? Why would they lie and take Sal's alibi away deliberately? So they reenact the crime night with the new time frames, and it is proven that Sal could not have killed Andy if he was at the party at 12 a.m., setting their investigation strong that okay, Sal was actually innocent. She confronts an emotional Naomi who spilled her guts and told her the truth. Apparently, the 4 of friends of Sal at the party when Andy got disappeared, they all went out a year before for some party and ran over a man while drink driving, right? And they actually left the case, making the entire case a hit and run case. And somebody got to know about it and blackmailed all 4 of them to change their testimony and take Sal's alibi back, otherwise they would out about their hit and run case. So Sal was indeed innocent and with them the night Andy was killed, meaning someone had not only killed Andy but killed Sal too after framing him. As Pip closes in on the investigation, she started receiving more threats to drop out, but Pip continues on finding evidence against her suspect list, mainly Max Hastings, Howie Bowers, Jason Bell, Andy's and Becca's father, who was very toxic, and Nat and Da Silva, the girl and the brother she bullied. Talking to Becca again, Andy's sister, Pip learns that Daniel was close to Jason Bell. Daniel, Nat's brother, and worked at his company. Then Jason helped him get a job as an officer, and he was a frequent visitor at Andy's house as well. In fact, he did the first search of Andy's room after her death, meaning he could have cleaned up any evidence and also knew about the hit and run case, solidifying his suspectness about the case. The investigation starts closing in, and fearing being outed, our antagonist probably pulls a more devious trick and kidnaps Pip's beloved dog Barney, who had been part of their family for a long time, leaving her with a threatening note to burn her investigation so far if she wanted to see the dog Barney alive. Afraid to lose her dog, she does as said and burns her investigation at a public place, and yet the next day she finds Barney's body floating in a stream. This derails Pip as the antagonist seems to be a killer ready to do anything to not be out. They wanted to save their image and they were willing to do anything for that. Pip decided to abandon the case to keep everyone around her safe, but Ravi supports her, encourages her, makes her seals and nudge her to listen to her gut, and he would of course support her. Right? Pip actually had saved the backup and they restart their case on Ravi's laptop. Amidst their recollection, she discovered that Naomi's old phone had a number eerily similar to a crossed off one in Andy's diary that they had gotten when they broke into Andy's house, right? Which clearly tied her back to the case. So to get concrete evidence, she goes to their house to normally chatting about stuff with Kara and Naomi. Discovery that Naomi's old phone, the SIM that had the eerily similar phone number, was actually Elliot's, their dad's spare SIM. Not only that, discreetly checking print history on their phone, Pip finds the exact threat she received in the exact font, and she's astounded to figure out that Elliot was actually behind this all, behind her threads, behind the phone, and he was actually the older guy that Andy was dating. So she casually inquires about Elliot's afternoon tutoring schedule, which ding ding started 5 years ago. Coincidence much? So she sneaks in her phone in his car and leaves it there to track where he goes. Turns out he has been visiting their old home, which he said he sold but didn't. And there was a huge possibility of Andy alive and being held hostage in that old home for last 5 years. So Pip and Ravi decides to call the police at night on his tutoring day and directs them, but Pip actually ditches Ravi and goes to visit the home and confront Elliot directly. Upon visiting the place, she catches Elliot red-handed preparing food for someone and demands for answers. Elliot confesses to the crime, saying Andy started approaching him back in the day, 5 years back. Andy started approaching him, giving him attention, which he reluctantly then finally gave in because, as you remember, Naomi's mother died 5 years back. So Elliot was very alone and he was missing his wife, and he liked the attention and eventually gave in to the distraction. So they had a short fling. But when he started feeling guilty about the entire scenario and tried putting it a stop, and he started blackmailing him to ruin his career for sleeping with a minor. It was then that he found out about Andy bullying a girl and used it as a counter threat to expel her, meaning that they were both at a stalemate. So he thought that this was all over, but a few days later, on 19th April night, Andy shows up at 10ish, telling she was only interested in seeing him because she wanted him to get her also an opportunity at Oxford, just like he did for Sal, and that she needed to get out of this town. This town was killing her. And in her entire rage, she starts destroying Elliot's wife's last work before her death, and which was very close to Elliot. So in order to save his wife's work and to save the destruction, he pushes Andy a little and she hits her head and starts bleeding. So take a first aid to help her out, but she was gone by then. And in the following days, when she remained missing, he suspected having killed her and was afraid of getting caught, leaving behind his daughters, which were they had to fend for themselves. So he then surmised a plan to frame Sal for Andy's murder and killed him, planting his body with crucial evidence because he did not want it to get convicted for Andy's murder. So he regretted his actions and realized that if Andy was indeed dead, her body would have been found, but it wasn't. So after 2 months, he found Andy lurking outside town, skinny and disheveled. He couldn't let her go into the town and be convicted of Sal's murder now. Now that Andy was alive, he was convicted of Sal's murder because Sal was murdered. This wasn't a suicide. So instead, he take Andy hostage and takes care of her and provides for her for the last 5 years. Except when Pip finds Andy, she wasn't Andy. Someone who looked like her, but not Andy. So Elliot confused her, blinded by his fear of getting caught, but that wasn't actually Andy. So Andy was still missing. The police reached the scene just then and arrested Elliot. Ravi and his family was relieved to have her son's name out of mud now, and police had reopened in Andy Bell's case because her body was still to be found. Either she was dead, either she was alive. Now that Sal's murderer was out from the scene, Pip tries to connect the remaining dots alone in her room, following Andy's steps, but the timings didn't click. According to the road CCTV, she was seen driving to Elliot's house at 10:40, but Elliot said she arrived at 10. So she revisited all her interviews and started making connections, finally realizing who actually was the killer. She called Max to get her final confirmation, and ding ding, we know who the killer is. It's Becca Bell. Becca confesses when Pip lays down the connections on how she must have attended a calamity party back in March, got roofied and raped by Max Hastings, and woke up with no memory but feeling strange. Becca dug up the roots of the drugs at the party and found Andy's connection and even her stash. Becca agrees, saying she thought Andy would actually help her when Becca would tell her about everything. But Andy wasn't bothered. In fact, Andy said that she was happy someone was at least interested in Becca. And it ticked Becca off so much that she pushed Andy, who hit her already bleeding head, and started choking. Becca watched her die and then carried her body in a car, passing the road CCTV at 12:40, 40 minutes after she visited Elliot, and dumped her body in a septic tank of an old manor. Pip understands that Becca must have come from a very vulnerable place, and she tries to warn Becca, but instead Becca has already put something in Pip's tea and tried killing her because she does not want to get caught. And while she was trying to kill Pip, fortunately, Ravi and Pip's father Victor arrives because Ravi tracked Pip's phone and found her near Becca. Andy Bell's mystery was finally solved, killed by her own sister, and the book ends with a wholesome speech by Pip at a town's gathering in front of the entire town on how they were so eager on convicting an innocent man and how police needed to be more competent. Ravi and his family gains back their lost reputation, and Sal is finally celebrated as a martyr. So this is how the entire book's plot turned out. That was it about the summary of the book, guys. This video was getting too long, so I have uploaded the review separately. So go and check it out.